Hey people, it's Naya Stokey. So this is a Black History video. So this is the source I'm using is Rediscovering Black History Blogs, Archives.gov. I'll leave this in the description. Free Frank Mcworter, Father of Freedom. Today's post was written by Holly Rivet, archive specialist at the National Archives in St. Louis. Free Frank Mcworter was an American frontiersman who found fortune, became the first African American to register town, and spent his life liberating his family. He was born enslaved in 1777 in South Carolina. His mother, Judah, had been kidnapped from West Africa, and his father is thought to be her enslaver. Frank moved with Mcworter to Pulaski County, Kentucky in 1795, leaving behind his mother. In 1799, Frank married a local enslaved woman named Lucy. His owner father left Frank to manage a Kentucky farm in order to sell new land in Tennessee. Frank was presumably permitted to hire out his own time, giving him the opportunity to save money. This meant paying his enslaver first, then paying himself. He discovered saltpeter, potassium nitrate near the farm he managed and began to mine and market this resource. The price of saltpeter, the primary ingredient in gunpowder, rose from 0.17 cents per pound in 1810 to $1 per pound in 1812 due to the War of 1812. By 1817, he established his own business and bought his pregnant wife's freedom for $800. Their son Squire was born into freedom. 2 years later, he purchased his own freedom for another $800 and renamed himself Free Frank. With his newfound freedom and fortune, he began land speculating, and at one point he owned 517 acres in Kentucky. In the 1820s, he became invested in commercial farming. He sold his saltpeter operation in 1829 to buy the freedom of his oldest son, Frank Jr., who had escaped American bondage, and sold freedom in Canada for the estimated price of $2,500. This is roughly $85,000 in today's currency, according to measuringworth.com. In 1829, Illinois passed an anti-immigration law requiring free black people to pay a $1,000 bond before settling. However, this was only for non-property owners. In order to circumvent this bond, Free Frank purchased 200 acres in Pike County, Illinois before he moved. As he was already a landowning resident, he avoided this bond when he physically moved. His family left behind their free-grown children and several grandchildren, but set out with the intention to return to purchase their freedom as well. By 1836, he had amassed 620 acres, part of which he founded as New Philadelphia. He mapped out 144 lots and sold them to both freedmen and European settlers alike. New Philadelphia prospered and by 1865 had a population of 160, 30% of which was African American. In the early 1850s, rail lines began to dominate transport of goods and displaced carriages and steamboats. The town established by Free Frank was skipped by the railroad by more than half a mile in 1869. This is not an isolated incident. This selective designation of rail stops to avoid a black town also occurred in Allensworth, California in 1914. Moving crop to market required a close station, thus beginning the decline in the town's population and prosperity. By the 1870s, the town was effectively dead. Over time, he continued to return to Kentucky to purchase the freedom more of his children and grandchildren. Overall, he bought 15 of his family members, and with their inheritance, his family bought another 7. Between 1817 and 1857, roughly $14,000 had been spent to free members of the Mcworter family. Free Frank Mcworter passed away September 7, 1854, in the town he founded. He was survived by his wife Lucy, their children Frank Jr., Sally, Judah, and Solomon. The Mcworter Cemetery still stands in Pike County, Illinois, and has been a National Historic Site since 1988. The New Philadelphia town site joined the list in 2005. Learn more about New Philadelphia, the Mcworter family, and restoration products at the Free Frank New Philadelphia Historic Preservation Foundation website. The whole application for National Historic status for Free Frank Mcworter gravesite NAID 288-93909 can be accessed anytime on National Org. Okay, you can just see this in the description. So anyway, I'd like to have shared this with you because it's another example that black people were not passive or just sat around waiting for white people to free them. They freed themselves, they were active, they lived productive lives long before the so-called affirmative action, which is not a real thing. Black people are the least beneficiaries of affirmative action Black people do not get any help from the government at all. From the very beginning, since black people arrived in the United States, they have been making their own way, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and showing the world what freedom and independence really means. So anyway, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.